you're seeing this video, more than likely you are ready or just starting your transition journey. First off, congratulations! It brings me so much joy to see others discover themselves and make a journey to better their physical and mental well-being. As someone that has been transitioning for over a year now, I can say this journey is one that is well worth it. It is such a beautiful thing to become the person you were meant to be. Along the way, I've learned many tips and tricks that have helped me ease my transition process from all over the place. And now I feel like it's my turn to share that knowledge with you. Hey everybody, it's your trans girl next door, Lainey. I post trans-related content ranging from tips and tricks to politics. If that's something you'd be interested in, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. I also post funny and informative content on TikTok and Instagram if you would like to stay up to date with me daily. I also have a growing Discord server if you would like to chat, get advice from, or hang out with others in the community. And lastly, if you're still questioning your gender identity, make sure to check out my previous video for more information on that. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the video. Before we start diving into the details, I really wanted to break down what I consider aspects of the transition process, so you can freely skip around and choose what does and does not apply to you. Like stated in the previous video, I consider there are two different types of transition: social and medical. Both can be done separately, at the same time, or one or the other. Don't feel obligated to do one or both if you do not want to. It is your journey to make. There's also one other part of transitioning I'd like to mention, which is legal. But due to the current political climate in the US and the differences between different countries, I'm going to leave this specifically out for now. Also, these tips are going to be more directed towards those that are trans femme, since that is my particular experience. Now, some of the general tips might apply to you, but if they do not, I think it'd be best to check out some of the other amazing non-trans femme creators here on YouTube. To start out, let's talk about tips and tricks in regards to social transition. Here is some of my general advice. If you haven't started already, I suggest exploring your gender expression. This can mean a lot of different things, from your appearance, to your name, to your pronouns, and so much more. Personally, I suggest not investing too much into these things so early unless you are certain about it. Take clothing, for example. When I first started out, I had a set mindset of what I wanted to wear. And I bought a few things and quickly came to the conclusion that it just wasn't me. And then eventually I came to what I wear today. But being able to explore different things gave me the opportunity to be certain in the decision I was making, and prevented me from spending a lot of money on things I didn't need. The same can be applied in regards to a lot of things that define yourself when you're transitioning. Another piece of advice is to find community. For me, having fellow queer people around me allowed me to be more confident, and providing me with opportunities to share with others that understand what I was going through. A lot of areas have local LGBTQIA+ support groups or events close by, so I highly suggest checking them out if you can. If for whatever reason you cannot, or don't have the availability to, there are a lot of online communities, such as Discord servers, like the one I run that's in the description down below, or Reddit, that can help. It is also important to research. While this guide has a lot, I'm constantly learning new things about transitioning from outside sources. There's actually YouTube creators on here that have been around longer than me that have a plethora of advice and tips, so I definitely suggest checking them out. Also, since some of these topics I can't get into heavy details to because of time constraints, I highly suggest doing a Google search on topics that interest you. I learned a lot about hair care, makeup, legal advice, etc. just from either Googling or watching YouTube videos, even if they're not from trans creators. It's also great to talk to others around you. People have a plethora of knowledge to share if you just ask. Now, this section is a little bit heavier of a topic to talk about, but I still find these things are important to discuss. These are all things I wish that I would have known so I could have been prepared before transitioning. Feel free to skip ahead if you like to stick to more of the positives of transitioning. Now, this one might be a tough one in the beginning, but be confident in yourself. I find that uncertainty radiates and attracts unwanted attention. When I first started presenting out in public, it felt like the whole world was watching me, and because of that, I developed a lot of anxiety early on. Having confidence in yourself and your identity will allow you to reach your transition goals more freely, as well as avoiding a lot of the anxiety that comes with transitioning early on. Next, be aware of your surroundings and be able to better analyze situations. When I first started transitioning, I put myself in some situations that luckily didn't go bad, but after reflecting, I realized just how dangerous they could have gone. For example, before transitioning, I would wear headphones at night alone and walk around. This now could turn very badly, especially since trans femmes lose a lot of muscle mass on hormones. It is so important to recognize this and be able to know what is going on around you. Also, it is critical to analyze situations before you enter them. Now, this might be harsh to hear, but I want to specify that I am looking out for your best interest when I say these things. While I am an optimist, I am a realist as well, and I want to make sure I keep my fellow community safe. Earlier on and during your transition, be aware of your surroundings before entering your gender's private spaces. While we are women, there are people out there that are hostile and cruel and that will not hesitate to put you in uncomfortable situations, even if we know they're wrong. So, if you are earlier on in your transition process, or maybe not presenting more feminine, please be aware of who is around you and where you are before entering bathrooms, locker rooms, etc. These people will not hesitate to confront you if they feel threatened or someone they love feels threatened. And I've heard of too many cases of trans or cis women mistaken for trans women being attacked in these spaces. If this maybe applies to you, find a gender-neutral space if the situation could possibly turn hostile. And if there isn't one, just please be safe. I hate even bringing this up, but I am truly looking out for your best interest, and I would hate to see anything happen to someone in my community. Next, be aware that you might lose certain privileges the further on in your transition journey you are. Men, while they may not recognize it, have certain privileges inherited. And while transitioning to a woman, those privileges you might lose. One I already established was the innate safety. Women, unfortunately, are victimized in this world, and now that includes trans femmes. So please be safe out there and follow my previous advice. Another is being an authority figure or having people believe what you are saying is factual. I know further on in my transition, I was finding it twice as hard to get my point across to other people and have them actually listen to my advice. Also, mansplaining is a real thing. Be prepared to have everything explained to you. It is a annoying, unfortunate, but very funny reality that women have to live with. And now we get to the fun part. This section is for those whose goals consist of passing. If that is not one of your goals, make sure to skip ahead. If it is, then strap in because I'm about to drop some knowledge. First off, skincare. Skincare is so important. It can literally drop years off of your age, and it is difficult to reverse skin damage. And being on hormones, your skin will dry out easier, so a good skincare routine is a necessity. Make sure to recognize what skin type you have. On a high level, there is normal, dry, oily, combination, and sensitive. It is important to recognize which one you have so you can choose the right products for your skin type. Now, for a skincare routine, here are some essentials: a moisturizer, a cleanser, a sunscreen, and an exfoliator. Cleanser, which essentially just cleans the dirt off of your face, and moisturizer, which basically just hydrates your face, needs to be applied twice daily, once in the morning and once before bed. Sunscreen needs to be applied once daily in the morning. Even if it's cloudy outside, it is important for you to wear it. Skin damage will quickly dry your skin out and cause wrinkles. Exfoliation needs to be done once or twice weekly. Exfoliation basically removes dead skin cells from the face. Now, you can either use a physical exfoliator, such as like a scrub or brush, or you can use a chemical exfoliator. Me personally, I use a chemical exfoliator, but this is not a good idea if you have sensitive skin. For your body, make sure, obviously, you're washing it with a body wash. You can also use an exfoliator to help get rid of dead skin cells. And make sure you're applying a moisturizer once you get out of the shower. And if you have especially dry skin, you can apply moisturizer at night before bed. Like stated before, depending on your skin type, you might need different or more products. So make sure if you're not getting the results that you desire, that you do more research. Now, on to the next one, hair care. Hair care is important to grow healthy and long hair. I by no means am a hair care expert, but here is what I've learned so far in regards to hair care. Make sure to recognize what type of hair type, texture, and density you have. Products may vary a lot depending on these factors. There are 4 main types of hair: straight, wavy, curly, and coily. There are 3 main types of texture: fine, normal, and coarse. And there are 3 types of density: thin, normal, and thick. Be aware, just because you have one of these things does not mean the other 2 are going to fall in line accordingly. For example, just because you have curly hair doesn't mean you're going to have coarse and thick hair. And the same goes for straight. Now, the longer your hair gets, the more these features will be defined. A good way to tell your hair features is to check after you've had a shower and your hair has been lightly air dried. It is very important to know what hair features you have. Doing this will be able to tell you what type of products and care that you need specifically for your hair. Now, for a very basic hair care routine, I suggest the following. Everyone should have at least a shampoo and conditioner. First, you should apply shampoo to your roots. Once you have washed that fully out, then apply conditioner to your mids to ends. I personally also use a deep conditioner since my hair doesn't retain moisture as well. This can be applied in between shampoo and conditioner. After your shower is complete, it is important to apply a leave-in conditioner. This will help your hair retain the moisture until your next wash. Depending on your hair type, you might want to also apply anti-frizz, mousse, gel, or sea salt spray. This is why it is crucial to know your hair type. And lastly, for drying, that is completely up to you. Personally, I just do an air dry, but you can use a towel or a hair dryer dependent on your needs. For styling, that is really up to you as well. Me personally, I don't because I have natural waves, but if you want to use a hair straightener or a curling iron to achieve the look you want, that is fine. Now, make sure that when you are using heating tools that you do not overly dry your hair. This can lead to damage and prevent more growth for your hair. Now, onto hair removal. Facial hair removal is one of the important aspects of achieving a more feminine look. Body hair, on the other hand, is completely your call. Me personally, I do it. For facial hair, there are various types of facial hair removal with varying degrees of success. For temporary hair removal, there is shaving, plucking, and waxing. Each of those varies in its success and how long in between each you have to do it. For permanent hair removal, there are 2 main types I want to focus on: laser and electrolysis. Laser has great results for permanent hair removal and can be done less frequently, has a wider coverage, and is less painful. Laser works by targeting darker hair pigments and essentially frying them to the root. Because of this, if you have dark hair and lighter skin, this will work the best for you. Now, if you have dark skin and light hair, this might not be as effective. Laser can be done every 3 or 4 weeks, and you do not have to grow out your facial hair to do it. Electrolysis is the best for permanent hair removal. The technician will basically find, zap, and destroy the root. But because of this, it takes a lot longer to achieve max results. And you do have to let your facial hair grow out a little bit, which is essentially a little dysphoric for some people. Like stated previously, electrolysis is the best for people with lighter facial hair, or for people who just don't take well to laser. Electrolysis can be done about once a week, usually about an hour or less sessions, and can take about as long as the hair lasts. For myself, I started with laser, and that effectively got rid of a lot of my facial hair. And now I'm doing electrolysis to get rid of any of the leftovers. Permanent hair removal is a long process, so the key here is to start early, be patient, and trust the process. Honestly, hair removal is like one of the biggest things for feminizing. And if you can do it, I highly, highly suggest it. For body hair removal, you can shave, wax, laser, or epilate. Shaving, waxing, and epilating obviously are temporary solutions, laser being permanent. I personally epilate. It's really painful at the beginning, but after a while, the pain goes away and it essentially takes longer in between sessions. And one more thing I highly suggest is to shape your eyebrows in a more feminine shape. This is the quickest way to achieve a more feminine look. I see trans women out there that would pass so much better if they just did this one step. So because of this, I consider eyebrow shaping an important thing to do. You can get that done at an eyebrow threading or a salon. Make sure you tell them what kind of shape you're trying to achieve, and they will give you a natural look. Now onto makeup. Now before getting into the essentials, I want to make sure that you are aware that you will not get this right the first time, the second time, or probably the third time. Doing makeup is a skill that is learned, so be kind with yourself. Also, another big tip before we start is to remember that less is more. You do not have to wear a full face of makeup every day, and it may not even be appropriate for you to do so. Now, obviously hormones and facial hair removal have a lot to do with helping that, but I've noticed from just moving around daily that cis women typically don't wear a lot of makeup or no makeup at all. So don't think that you have to overdo it daily to fit in. Now, onto the most common essentials. This consists of primer, foundation, concealer, eyebrow pen/gel, eyeshadow palette, eyeliner, mascara, blush, and lip gloss/lipstick. There is also contour palette, bronzer, highlighters, and lip liners, but to be frank, I rarely ever use these. Most of the things I've listed I've used at one time or another. My daily makeup routine at my point in my transition consists of concealer, eyebrow pencil, mascara, and eyeliner. Now, a quick rundown on what each is and how to apply it. Primer basically makes your skin look smoother and allows your other parts of your routine to stick better. You only need to apply a pea-sized amount across your entire face. Foundation is the next layer. It is used basically to cover up any imperfections such as spots, discolorations, etc. When you choose your foundation, make sure you choose one that has your correct skin tone so it matches the rest of your skin. This also goes all over your face, so you need to make sure that you use a brush or sponge to blend it in accordingly. Concealer is another line of defense against imperfections. You do not have to use this if you already have foundation on, but it helps. You can apply this a small amount at the places of imperfection and blend it in accordingly. Eyebrow pencils or gels are a great way to accentuate the shape of your brows. I find it really makes the eye area pop. Make sure when you apply it, you do on the outline of the brow, but not overdo it, and then make sure you fill and blend in accordingly. Eyeshadow is not a necessity, but I find it gives great character to your eyes. Personally, I only use eyeshadow on special occasions, but you can be free to intermingle it into your daily routine as needed. I typically apply on the top lid and then go a little bit over on the top corner. Make sure that you do not overdo it, unless you want to look like a raccoon, of course. Eyeliner is one of my favorite parts of makeup. You can really play with it, and depending on your look, you can really open the eyes or make them look sharp. Typically, you can use pencils, liquids, or gels. Me personally, I like liquid because it's less prone to run, and it usually comes in a pencil form, which makes for thinner, sharper lines. To apply, you want to make sure you take your pencil, liquid, or gel and run it at whatever starting point you want on your upper lid and on your lower lid. Make sure that, well, for me personally, I like to do smaller lines, so you want to run it close to the lash line on both lids. And to make it more fun, you can do things like wings, where you can take it and just apply it a little bit further from your eye corner and then connect it to the top. However you apply it, just make sure that you fill it in accordingly. Mascara is another one I use daily. Before application, I suggest using a lash curler. Once curled, go from the bottom to the top, and make sure that you do not overdo it so it does not look clumpy and unnatural. Blush is one that I use sparingly, but can give your face a little bit more of a pop. To apply, you want to use a brush and go from your nose to your temple area. Make sure that you do not over apply, make sure that you blend in, and make sure you do not do it too low. Lip gloss or lipsticks are pretty easy to apply. Just apply to your lips and spread. Once you have spread, make sure that you clean up any of the edges if you're using a bolder lipstick. Contours, bronzers, and highlighters are ways to accentuate your face or lessen features you do not want to accentuate, and they're typically applied with a brush or a sponge. Contours you can apply to places like your nose to make it less prominent and slimmer, or give some more pop to your cheek area. Bronzers are typically used to give more color to your face, and highlighters are typically similar to contouring, but it more so pops out the places you want it to. Lip liners are another way to accentuate your features, specifically your lips. Lip liners basically make your lips look bigger than they actually are. To apply, you go close to the lip area and apply on the upper and lower. Typically, this is used with a lipstick to blend in. Now, I might have missed some, but these are typically the ones you see most common. You can use all of them or little to none. That is completely up to you and your routine. Now, let's get into clothing and styling. This is another fun part, and there are so many different things we could talk about here. For the sake of time, I'm going to keep to the basics. But if you would like a more detailed video on this, make sure to comment down below. For the basics, first off, you need to find your various sizes. Women's clothing does differ in relation to men's. I suggest making sure that you take down your neck size, your shoulder width, your bust, your under bust, your waist, your hips, and then making sure that you measure from your hips to the floor for your leg length. Once you do that, make sure to run your measurements through a size calculator. This will be able to tell you what your designated size is for your measurements. Also, it's important to remember those measurements because some clothing brands differ in regards to what sizes they designate for what measurements. For shoe size, typically measurements run 2 sizes smaller for women's than men's. For bra size, you need to measure your bust and your under bust when you're standing, leaning over, and on your back. Take these measurements and put into a bra size calculator to find your designated bra size. For styling, the world is really your oyster, but here are some of my suggestions and advice. First off, try to dress for your body type. Now, this doesn't have to be strictly followed, but if you're looking to alleviate some of the proportions that are more prominent than others, highly suggest it. Here's a guide to typical body types. Most trans women that transition after first puberty will have a triangle body shape. To help alleviate this, it's best to wear bottoms that flare or squeeze at the waist to provide a curvier silhouette. It also helps to wear tops that either hide shoulders or take attention away from them. Another tip is to try to dress for your age. Now, this is another thing that you can choose to do or not, but it does make you stick out more if you do. What kind of clothes you wear can say a lot about your age and your maturity level. So if you're wanting to pass, make sure you pick clothes that are appropriate for your age. To jump off the last point, dress for the occasion. Wearing the wrong thing at the wrong place at the wrong time can draw a lot of attention your way. For example, wearing a night out dress and heels to the grocery store in the middle of the day on like a Tuesday will draw a lot of attention. So with these last 2 points I made, another tip I have is to observe the people around you. What are the people your age wearing? What are they wearing to where you're at? What are the current trends? Recognizing these types of things will help you make better decisions. Also, don't just run out and buy everything all at once. Stick to the essentials. Stick to a few tops, a few bottoms, a few dresses, a few bras, and a few shoes. Your size can change significantly, especially if you're on hormones during transition. Another tip, utilize thrift stores. Clothes are expensive. Try to cut costs where you can, especially when developing your wardrobe from the beginning. Me personally, I still buy a lot of my jeans from thrift stores. They're the same brands, but a lot cheaper. When it comes to wearing bottoms, wear them at your waist, not your hips. Wearing them at your hips will make them not fit correctly and will over-accentuate your upper body, which you do not want if you want to pass. And lastly, layers, layers, layers. Not only will it help you keep warm, since during transition you might get colder, but it can help spice up an outfit that you're wearing, such as like a cardigan over a basic tee. Overall, it just makes you look more put together when you go out into the world. These next 2 points I'm about to make are ones that I feel are easily overlooked, but are so essential in regards to passing. We'll start with voice training first. As you may or may not know, for trans femmes, hormones will not change your voice. So because of this, to achieve full passability, it is essential to work on your voice. Even if you have everything put together, a deep chest voice will immediately give you away. And on the opposite spectrum, if you have nothing put together, but have a feminine sounding voice, you can pass. That's why it is important to practice early and practice often. To be honest, voice training is not easy. It can be frustrating and it can be difficult, but the payoff is so high. There is a lot to voice training, and it would take multiple videos to go over it. And there are already dedicated channels to just voice training. So I suggest checking them out or looking for other resources on Reddit or Discord servers. And don't forget to practice, practice, practice. And for my last point, this is one that I feel is over-missed, but it's definitely still important, and that is posture. Having bad posture can over-accentuate body parts that you do not want to, while having good posture can establish confidence, which is something that you want to carry around. One of the easiest things you can do for posture is to pull your shoulders back, sit up straight, and make sure that your neck is parallel with your shoulder line. Also, women typically take up less space, so when you walk or sit, try to close yourself off more. When you walk, try to walk more in a straight line, like a sobriety test. And when you sit, make sure you either sit with your legs closed or your legs crossed. This is especially important when wearing dresses. For the love of God, don't forget that. So that is it for pretty much all of my tips that I can give when it comes to the social part of transitioning. Now I think we can finally get into the medical part of transition. So before we get into this section, I have to give a little disclaimer. I am not a medical professional. I do not advise DIY practices, and I am not advising you to do any of these. I do not have the medical expertise to do so. This section is just for explaining the publicly known processes and my own personal experiences. Please consult a medical professional before considering any of these. So now that we got that out of the way, I am going to break down the section into 2 separate parts: medications and surgeries. For hormone replacement therapy, I'm going to focus on 2 things: estrogen and anti-androgens. Also, it's best to know that for HRT, it is for life. No matter what surgeries you get, you will always have to take it. Estrogen is one of the building blocks of feminizing on HRT. It usually comes commonly in 3 different forms: oral/sublingual, injections, or patches. Now, some people can do just monotherapy, which is just estrogen, if it suppresses their testosterone level enough. But if it does not, then you can take anti-androgens. Anti-androgens are basically there to lower the production of testosterone. On top of the common estrogen and anti-androgens, there are additional medications that can help with the feminizing process. A commonly seen one is progesterone. This is used later on in the transition process to help with breast development as well as better sleep. Another commonly seen extra medication is finasteride. Finasteride is used to decrease the level of hair loss by decreasing the DHT level that is responsible for hair loss. Finasteride is not only used by trans people, but also cis men and cis women. Another common medication for hair loss is minoxidil. Minoxidil is used to help promote the growth of new hair. Minoxidil is commonly seen in products such as Rogaine. Some other commonly seen medications that are more supplemental would be multivitamins, which obviously help out the body as a whole, and biotin. Biotin is used to promote healthy, long hair and nails. Now, on to surgeries. For surgeries, I'm going to break it down into face, body, bottom, and focal. Now, for face, typically there is facial feminization surgery. Facial feminization surgery is basically a broader term used to describe multiple plastic surgeries that occur for the face. This could include stuff like rhinoplasty, a brow lift, jaw reconstruction, brow reconstruction, etc. Now for the body, there's two typically common ones that are seen, which is breast augmentation and BBL. Breast augmentation is basically a boob job in lamest terms, basically filling out the chest area. BBL is typically used to increase the buttocks or hip area by taking fat from different areas and injecting it into that area. There's also other surgeries which consist of like body contouring, etc. that I'm not too familiar with, but it is seen. Now for bottom surgeries, there's two main ones that are seen: orchiectomy and vaginoplasty. Orchiectomy basically consists of removing the testicles from the body. Vaginoplasty is the reconstruction of the bottom area into a more feminine presenting one. There's a lot of different methods, and it's completely up to your surgeon which is best for you. And the last type is focal surgeries. Focal surgeries could basically consist of focal feminization surgery. And focal feminization surgery basically consists of moving the larynx up to a higher area in the throat. Now, it is best to know that vocal feminization surgery does not raise the pitch. It only raises your voice to an area that is a more comfortable feminine frequency. And that about wraps it up for the surgery section of this video. This was a long video. Did you have fun? Because I did. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a lot of information to take in, but my hope is that it helps you during your transition process. And I know there's probably a lot of information that I missed here. If there's anything that I did not cover that you'd like me to talk about, leave a comment down below so I know. If you enjoyed the content of this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. It gives me a lot of incentive to make more of these in the future. And before I sign off, I want you to know that you are loved and to be kind to yourself. Until next time.